and this is part 2 of my video. The reason why I wanted to keep this separate is because there's just a lot going on, and I can kind of actually make a video out of this in itself. So this will be, in a sense, my first prediction video. And last year's trailer, we saw Rick's group and, the Terminus people. And, what ended up happening was, then they cut to the next part, and you saw Beth at Grady Memorial, with Noah and everybody else, and you saw that side. Well, they did almost the same thing here, except it features a character from our main group. And there are a lot of questions here. And what's going on here is that this is Daryl. What happens is you see Daryl, basically his hands are tied, he's in the middle of the woods, basically just sitting there, tied up. This guy holds a gun on him, and then there's 2 other people in the background. I think they're women. They look to be women. Their faces were kind of faded, but the guy is in the center, and he's holding the gun at Daryl, and he goes, "Here's the deal. You don't say the swear word S-H-I-T, excuse me, and I don't kill you." So he's got Daryl, basically, and he says, "Don't say anything, and I won't kill you." And then Daryl says, "I ain't who you think I am." And then the guy cocks the gun. So obviously Daryl's in a little bit of peril right now. Something major's going on here. Then we see another scene where Daryl is struggling with his bindings. We also see Daryl, there's another scene where this may take place before or it may take place after. But I'm assuming it's before. Because, like I said earlier, there was a scene where Rick and Daryl were talking, and, Rick says something like, "You feel differently about it?" And Daryl goes, "Yeah, I do." Now, I was kind of trying to figure out what is Daryl talking about, and there were a couple of ideas that I had. One may be that Daryl has an idea, that maybe he might try to draw some of the walkers away, and he might use his motorcycle to do it, and maybe Rick's trying to say, "Don't do it, you really want to do something like this?" Maybe Daryl says yes. Another thing that I was thinking about was that maybe Daryl's going out there to look for people. Or maybe somebody else is missing. Maybe there's a chance that somebody's run off, somebody got separated, from the group, and Daryl, is going out there to look for them. And another possibility that I thought about was that, maybe Daryl was planning on taking the fight to the wolves. Maybe they have had some kind of contact with the wolves, and Daryl's thinking back to the time where the governor, got away, and they decided to let him go, and look what happened. And maybe Daryl is basically learning from that experience and saying, "I'm not going to let this happen again. I'm not going to have my people be in danger. So I'm going after, these people." So I think that there are a lot of different possibilities going on here. I'm interested to see what is actually going on, but no matter what, Daryl is at some point going to apparently be separating from the group. And Rick was standing next to the motorcycle while Daryl was talking, and Rick was, standing next to it. So it was almost like him saying, "Daryl, don't go," but Daryl went. So those could be possible reasons for why he's left. But no matter what, he's left at some point. I think his motorcycle runs out of gas, whether that is intentional, whether that is, Daryl took how much was in there, whether somebody tampered with it. We don't know. But there's a scene where Daryl's moving his motorcycle through the woods. He's pushing it. And we also see, what do I want to say? Okay, so we also see a scene where Daryl may be running through the woods, because it changes between day and night. The scenes before were taking place at night. Daryl was pushing his motorcycle in the day. So it may be that he ran, got his motorcycle, and trying to get away, maybe find some fuel. On the other hand, it may be that he was doing that first, then he abandons it because, hey, it's dead weight anyways, and then he gets captured. Now, we also see a scene where Daryl is holding his crossbow, so he does have it, so maybe he gets a hold of it after he escapes. And then you see those other 2 people holding up their hands, and Daryl, whether he's holding his crossbow on them or not, it's impossible to say. I think it's more likely. I don't know who else would be out there, what else is going on, but it is night, and you see like two people putting their hands up, basically in surrender. And I think they're both women. And based on the clothing that they're wearing, they appear to be the same women that was with this guy that was holding the gun on Daryl. And then we later get to a point where Daryl, the last scene basically of the trailer is Daryl falling onto his knees, breathing hard. Now, obviously, I'm wondering, who are these people? What's going on? And one thing that I noticed about the people, they didn't have W's on their head. So that may mean that they're not the wolves. Now, I mean, we don't really know who all, is in this group of wolves. We don't know if all of them wear the W on their heads, if some do, some don't. Or if they have to keep applying it, at various times. I mean, it might be even carved in there. I'm not 100% sure. But we don't really know the extent of how many people are in this group. But if I had to make my best prediction, I don't think that these people are the wolves. And I have an idea of who I think they are. If you remember back in, I believe it was the episode Try. It was either that episode or Conquer. I can't remember 100%. But there was a scene where Aaron and Daryl were talking about the community. And Aaron tells Daryl, yeah, we had to banish people. We had to banish 3 people because they tried to take the place over. They were violent. And that's what they do. They kicked people out, banished them instead of killing them. Now, we don't really know exactly how long it's been since they've done that. It may have been recently, may have been a long time ago, but I think these people were the banished individuals. And it may be that they're going to use Daryl to try to get, back into the community. I think that's very possible. They may be the ones that were shooting. Because we see again, there's that one scene where there's this person that appears to be wearing some kind of coat. Their face is, blacked out, so we can't really see who they are. And they're just running down the street shooting, and I think they're shooting people. I don't think they were walkers. So it may be possible that they are the people that were kicked out, and they've been plotting revenge. And this would, in a sense, almost bring up the point that Rick was making. Because I think that a lot of, the conflict that's going to be happening is, this idea of, do you give people second chances? Do you give people the opportunity to even come back? Or even in that sense, do you give people the avenue to possibly, make you vulnerable? I mean, we've seen time and time again, where that has failed. That happened with Shane. Rick gave Shane the chance to straighten up, and Rick almost died. Shane tried to kill him. The governor. They let the governor go. They didn't, Michonne kept looking, but, Daryl quit. Everybody else quit. They just went on with their lives. Governor comes back, ruins the prison. The people at Terminus, the hunters. You have, Rick wanting to go back there and kill the rest of them. And everybody's like, no, we got out, Rick. Let's just forget it. They're on their own. Well, guess what? These people got back together, and now Bob died. So, I think that Rick is beyond that point of giving people a second chance. And you saw there, when Rick tried to suggest they kill Pete, because when you banish people, you give them the chance to potentially come back. And we may be seeing, various instances of people, wondering, do we give people second chances or not? And I think that this may be used as like the resource that Rick needs to say, hey, this is why you don't give people chances. This is why you don't banish people. That's who I think they are. I mean, they did talk about 3 people that they banished, and there were 3 people there. There was a guy and 2 girls, and they did not have W's on their forehead. So I don't think they're wolves. And I think it's very possible that, Daryl may be in danger, and it may be them. Another possibility that I thought about was that these may just be regular survivors. We don't really know who they are. And it may be possible that Daryl, just happened to run into them. And it may be possible that they know about the wolves, that they've seen them, that Maybe their group was attacked by them and they left. That's a possibility. And they may think that Daryl is one of them because, they see Daryl and he's got, dirty clothing on, and that may remind them of the wolves. And it may be that they take him, hostage to maybe get information, who are these people? Who are your people? Because Daryl says, I ain't who you think I am. And that can mean two things. That could either mean Daryl saying, look, you may think I'm weak, but I'm not, or, you don't know the kind of man I am. You may think that I'm a nice guy, but I can snap, or I can take you out. It may be that, or it may literally be, I ain't who you think I am. You think I belong to the wolves. I don't. Or you think I belong to these bad group of people, but I don't. I'm not them. So I think that it may be that kind of a situation. So, it'll be very interesting to find out who these people are. But those are my predictions. I mean, I think that it's very possible that these individuals could be the Alexandria survivors that were taken. And then on the other hand, or sorry, that were banished. Or they may just be regular survivors that are out there and they've had some kind of a confrontation with the wolves, and they may think that Daryl is a wolf or somebody from a bad group that they've dealt with, and of course they're suffering through a trauma, and they feel that Daryl is one of those people. So obviously something's going on here, but I'm very interested to see what's going on here, who these people are, and will they have a big impact on the plot? Are they bad people? Are they just regular survivors and they've labeled Daryl? I'm very interested to see, but Daryl looks to be in some danger next season, and it definitely gives a very exciting plot for him, and to see exactly what does happen to him, I will be very interested. So with that, guys, I'm going to bring this video to a close. I want to thank each and every one of you for watching. If you guys have any questions or comments, don't be afraid to leave them. Feel free to subscribe. I do have more videos coming. And if there are any suggestions that you guys have for videos since the trailer has been released, don't be afraid to let me know. I have a bunch of ideas. I'll be getting videos out. And if there's anything that you want to see, please feel free to suggest. I want to thank each and every one of you for your support that you've given to this channel. I do appreciate it. And I can't wait for season 6. I really am excited for this season. The trailer was amazing. I hope you all have a wonderful evening, and thank you very much for watching.